Now then folks, it's been a while. Last time I came on I was telling you about the bridge project that I was planning to do using the old Hornby Girder bridge. It's took a lot longer than I expected for the plastics to arrive. Supposed to have been here within a few days and it's took weeks. I know with everything that's going on in the world it's kind of understandable, but anyway, let me show you what I've got done. Not a lot, because as I say, it's not long arrived, but let's have a look and see where we've got to. So here we go. This is what it's looking like at the minute. So when I was building the bridge, I remembered that I had a little bit of an issue, and I knew it was something to do with all the tracks crisscrossing around the bridge. So I printed off part of the 1:1 scale plan of the layout that I needed for this particular area. So that's what it's laid underneath the bridge now, and that's so that I can give you an explanation as to what I'm doing and where I'm going. So let's have a little look at this track plan first. So as you can see, we've got bridge above. Now on this plan, these two red lines denote the lines that are running on the bridge, so coloured in red just for my reference. But as you can see, there's a line comes through in white, and that line actually follows to the right as you're looking at the screen, runs back up to the line that comes off the top deck of my layout. So I've got a two-tier layout, and it's the runoff line that comes all the way down. It's level at this point, and then I wanted it to disappear into scenery. It whirls its way to the left and then runs round and eventually makes its way to an 8-line storage facility that will be under my main station on the upper level. So this gave me the first problem, which was I needed a tunnel. Now I, as some of you know, have more buildings and soft mech that I've bought through eBay over time, but no tunnels. So we needed a tunnel. Well, you can see one sitting there, and we'll come to that little section at the end. So we needed a tunnel to be able to sit the bridge on. So if I just come back a little bit, you can see there's the tunnel mouth structure that I needed. And then if I just slowly, so you don't all get nausea, pan across to this end, we've got another section there as well. Now this one is not a tunnel, as you can see, because there's no hole in it. Don't need a tunnel at that end because there's nothing happening with it, but it's a copy of what's at the other end, and as I said, we'll talk about that at the end of this video. Now I'm just going to remove the bridge so I can explain a little bit more about this track, and there's a question for you all. Bear with me. So here's your starter for 10. This, as I said, is a copy of the plan of how track is going to go on the layout. Now let me just swivel you around a little. You can see here we've got an abutment wall, but we also need an abutment wall on there. Now normally these abutment walls tend to go off at an angle into scenery. Unfortunately I can't, because I've got a track here. So I want people's opinion. Should I just not bother with anything on there, or should I just run one, well, almost straight out, following the line of this track here? I'd like people's opinion on that, if you don't mind, because I'm really not sure what I'm going to do about that at this moment in time. So there's question number one for you. Let's get this bridge back on and we'll have a chat about that. So here's the bridge back on where it's going to be. So this is generally what it's going to look like. This end nowhere near finished yet, but as you can remember when we last spoke, I talked about things that I was going to do, and as always I change my mind about stuff as I go along. So first things to discuss, if you remember these sections here, sorry I had a sneezing fit there, So if you remember these sections, this was half of one of those, and we then, when we finally got our plastic, constructed some I-beams, because the ones that I did want that should have matched weren't in stock. So we fabricated an I-beam up to try and make it look like a complete section, and at the moment it doesn't really, but once it's all in primer I'm sure it will look absolutely fine. So we've done both ends. This cap and piece that you see in white that runs all the way down the bridge on both sides is there to hide a lot of the pre-cut slots that Hornby provided, so you could have this bridge in various formations. So it was a quick way of covering them up and making sure that we didn't have a bridge that was full of holes. And you can see we also did this section on the top as well for that very reason. So that's been done on both sides. Then we also talked about using a mesh for these walkway areas and the centre. Yeah, well, that arrived and I really didn't like it, and I thought, well, my layout's supposed to be sort of like late 60s, early 70s, and I thought it probably would have been wood anyway. So as you can see, I've begun a little bit of a trial with that as well. So all we've done is because we've got sloping edges, i.e. those, what we've done, as you can see here, is we put a little coffee stain on the sloping edge, and then we've used 3 lolly sticks, and the outer lolly sticks sit on the coffee stain to give me a nice flat surface. So that will provide a centre walkway, and then you can see we've got a little walkway there, and I was going to put handrails across, but I thought the whole point is to get on the track. So what we're going to do is just going to put a handrail across the back side of the bridge so that they can't fall out of the bridge, if you like. But so far I'm quite liking these wooden bits, I'm quite happy with them, so I think that's the route that I'm going as opposed to the mesh. I also talked about filling all those ghastly holes in the track, and then thought I'm just making work for myself, because at the end of the day I'm going to be putting some kind of bed there, whether it be cork or something else, so what's the point? They're going to get covered anyway. I may fill the underneath once I've got that on, and I might not, because I'm kind of one of those that thinks if you can't see it, then what's the point? You just make them work. So the other thing I've started with is, if you remember, I talked about doing something on the end of the bridges. I've actually added this entire section on at this end. I'll just try and slowly take you back along, otherwise you're going to think you're on a roller coaster. So when you last saw it, it didn't have these end sections here, and this is roughly about a third of one of the platform bridge sections, and it takes me to the end of the I-beams that I've got underneath. So we've added those on just to complete the length, but also to give us something to do this with. At the moment this is what I've got. So before I started using the plastic, I decided to just knock something up out of coffee stirrers. So I just wanted an end to the bridge to see how did I feel about it, what did it look like, what was my thoughts, and then I've added a little bit of plastic over the top just to dress it up. I'm still not sure. I kind of look and think it doesn't look like the rest of the bridge. Does it look like an afterthought? But then I keep telling myself that, well, you know, once it goes into grey primer, it probably will blend in. So this is the second question. What do you think? Can you come up with anything else? Can you think of anything else? Would you have left it so that it looked like that, and then with that blank end on it? Either way, it needs something. I'm just not sure what. So if anybody has any suggestions, please feel free to pass them on. But anyway, so that's it for the I'm going to flip it upside down now, just so you can see some of the work that I have done underneath, because we did discuss this in the first video. Bear with us. So here we are at the underneath section. So we've got all this white stuff run down the sides. It's to hide the big holes that were left in here, which is where the sides of the bridges were to connect to. I was going to fill them in like that, and then I thought once the bridge is up and mounted you're not going to see them, so I ain't going to bother, if I'm honest. We did talk about making these. Why is that not pointing at my finger? Yeah. I did say I was going to extend these. I made them a little bit thicker but not a lot, and I was talking about going all the way across. Waste of plastic, waste of time. It was only for, you know, for what you were looking at. But we did here put the square blocks in that I spoke about to help with the joints. It was also to try and marry them with them. So as you can see, I've only done one side. I've got white plastic to put on the left side of all of these, so they'll look the same as that. There's my I-beams that I got. I quite like them. I thought they were really good. Thought the scale was perfect. Now I had to use 2 full lengths to get across my span. I have put this in on the outside, and on the inside you can see a much greater one, just so that that joint isn't a weak point. That's all I did it for. Now obviously on the inside I'm not bothered about what it looks like so much, but on the outside I've made it small. The reason being is I watched a video recently of a guy using what he called a riveting tool, and Gormo's shed showed you how he did his own riveting. So following on from Gormo, I'm going to get one of those tin foil roasting trays that you see, cut the size out that matches that little bit of wood, and then what we're going to do is use the riveting tool, cover it in rivets and stick it over that, so it'll look like a plated rivet joint. So I'm quite looking forward to having a bash at that, seeing what Gormo's look like, and it looked quite good, so I'm hoping mine's going to be the same. Now on the inside of the bridge, you remember I talked about using the thick white squares to cover these joints, and with the issues I mentioned earlier about, you know, these sections are not flat and don't meet up, just chose simple, honest to God lolly sticks. They're a lot broader, there's more glue in surface, probably more strength, probably less twist, so we just use them along the length, just across where the joints are, just to give them a little more strength. The other thing as well is, as you see here, this is towards the end, we've made an I-beam out of lolly sticks. Now this one was more an appearance thing. This is designed so that when it's sitting on its tunnel top, it'll sit against that. You can see it's slightly elevated above the plastic I-beams. It's just to give me somewhere to put the tunnel mouth against, so that if you look underneath you'll see this big I-beam sitting there. So that was that. The other thing we talked about as well, and the last one, was installing these I-beams. I was talking about packing up the base to get it up to the height so we could get over these. Gave that up in the finish, and all I did was, if you look, if it'll let me go this end where there's more light, sorry, focus. Right, so what we did was these plastic things here, I just cut out a notch all the way along the bridge to sit the girder in, so it's now is actually sitting flush on the bridge through its entire length. So underneath wise I'm nearly there. I've got to make up this I-beam here with my lolly sticks to match the other end, and these bits of trims I've got to complete them on this side, and then on the other side of the bridge I've got to do all of those. But underneath, really, I think that's about it, to be honest with you. I don't see me doing a great deal more on the underneath. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Nowhere near as far as I thought I would be. unfortunately, but not for the want of trying.